3rd of January, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Okay, good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here at Yeshiva Samanachshi here in Yerushalayim Care with Zoom. This is our first year in the morning. We're learning Pierke Avos, the 5th parak, the 8th and 9th Mishnayos, there in the 5th parak, as I said. And let's see, we're in our document presently in number 6. Let's continue on. You continue on that. We just did Dever, Kolokol Hamisus, Vacherev. Okay, that's where now. We'll continue on here if you like.
Vacherev, the Chaya Hagalot, Haim Kolim Kol Hisorin Akashim.
So Cherev v'chaya v'golos heim kolim kol yisurim kashus. They include all types of difficult, distressful situations.
Okay, and galut. Okay, let me go on. V'tzarot rabot v'ra'ot she'itzuri rav ba'olam. Many troubles. Okay.
Tzoros rabos v'ros, tzoros, troubles, many troubles and difficult situations that are in the world.
Oh, okay. They're in the world. Okay. V'chein hashiva gufei averot ha'ela.
Him calling kol funny meaning averos, right? We call shiva goofy averos, and all these 7 types of averos, they encompass all the different types of nasis that are done whether privately or publicly.
Oh, okay. Im kolim kol ofnei minei avirut na'ashot b'seiter v'golai. Okay, you just said. Vayireh ve'emet sheha-oraniyot ha'ele ba'ot al gufi ha'avirot ha'ele.
You'll see the emes. You'll see that the truth is that these calamities, boss al gufi these calamities are coming because of the averis. Meaning, people they don't think that calamities come into the world for no reason whatsoever. There's a cause and effect here, which is stressed here in these Mishnayos. It's stressing, Chazal trying to stress to us the cause and effect. Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu created a world that's supposed to function properly, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu is completely perfect in all ways possible, and his world should be perfect in all ways possible as well, right? If the creator is perfect, so his creation should be perfect as well. So if that's the case, we have a big question, right, Lou? We have a big question. If the Kadosh Baruch Hu was perfect, his world should be perfect. So why do all these calamities come into the world, right? Famine, war, beasts that attack people, right? All types of things. All these things, they're not adding to the, apparently, let's put it this way, apparently they're not adding to the perfection of the world, but in fact they all these things, in fact, are adding to the perfection of the world. They do add to with if the world would just be like I tell people, even in Disneyland, you have to wait online. And
That's true.
not
That's
only
true.
that, even in Disneyland, they sell umbrellas in Disneyland also. You know that.
Yeah, because it rains in the afternoon.
It rains, yeah, rains. So don't think that Disneyland is perfect in perfection either. You know, you can buy two kinds of tickets when you go to Disney. You can buy two kinds of tickets. You can buy the regular ticket for the slow lines, and you can get pay extra to go on a fast line ticket.
Oh,
So you don't have to wait like 3/4 of the time. You don't have to wait a full time to get online. You can pay extra. You can get onto the rides faster. In Disneyland also, and I'm pretty sure they have a first aid station in Disneyland also.
I'm
know?
sure they do. Yeah.
So don't think Disneyland's the perfection of humanity over here. Might be the perfection of Mickey Mouse, but it's not the perfection of humanity.
Well, I grant you, Rabbi, that we can't do any better, but it would seem that Hashem could do better.
Yeah, exactly. Hashem does know better. So that's what we have to realize. We have to realize that all these things we call them calamities, we call them the bad occurrences, but in actuality, they're not stemming from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. They're stemming from our Averos, right? That's what this Mishnahs, these Mishnahs are teaching us, that it's a cause and effect situation. Meaning these things exist in the world because of our Averos.
But the deck is stacked against us. You look at Adam Harishon. How long was it before he sinned? 5 minutes?
Yeah, well, I always tell you, we have to understand that Adam Rishon's sin wasn't. You have to be. I'll tell it to you again. I've told this. You've heard this mashal from me before. You have a king. You have a king, and the king has his castle, right, Roy? Every king has a castle. What's a king without a castle, right? And in the castle is the royal kitchen, right? What's a castle without a royal kitchen, right? And every royal kitchen has a royal cook, right? So one afternoon, the king takes a special trip down to his royal kitchen and talks to his royal cook, his royal chef, and he says, "I want you to cook me a stew. I'm going out. I'm going to go fox hunting for a few hours in the afternoon. I'm going to come back. I'll be hungry from fox hunting. I want you to cook me a stew." Right? So the chef's very happy. He doesn't usually get a special visit from the king, and asks for a special stew. So the king is often riding away into the forest chasing his foxes, and the chef starts making his royal stew for the royal king in his royal kitchen. And so he gets his big pot, starts filling it with water, puts salt and spices in there, starts getting onions and the potatoes, the carrots, all the other greens and vegetables, starts putting that in. Gets some very nice meats, special meat he has for the king, and he starts preparing the meat to put into the stew. And it's finally puts all the ingredients gets together. It's simmering away. And into the kitchen comes the chef's wife. Chef's wife comes waltzing into the kitchen, says, "What's new today, dear? What's new?" Says, Baruch Hashem, very nice, everything's fine, Baruch Hashem. Not only that, I'll tell you what, the king gave me a special visit today. King told me that he's going fox hunting and he wants to have a very special stew. He's going to be very hungry when he comes back, and wants a special stew when he comes back. And I should make him a special stew. So she looks around, and here there sees the pot and simmering away. Says, "Looks very nice." Yes, and tell me, how does it taste? Taste? What is? Oh, the thing is that before the king left to go his fox hunting, he told the chef that to make the stew, but on the condition he can't taste the stew. He gave him a special condition not to taste the stew. Make a stew for him, the royal stew, but not to taste the stew. Okay. So anyway, he's a professional. He's been doing this for years and years. And now, you don't just become the royal chef or the royal king just without any qualifications. He's well qualified. And to make a stew, he's been doing it, can probably do it blindfolded. So he had no problem. Make a stew like he always makes a stew. And he's confident that it's going to turn out to be very good. No problem. So his wife now asks him, she's asked him, well, how's it taste? How does the stew taste? He says, I don't know. She says, what do you mean you don't know? How can you not know what the taste of the stew is like? Every chef tastes his food, right? That's the one of the ways it's a mitzvah, by the way, on Erev Shabbos to taste the food for Shabbos. Taste the chicken soup, the cholent, whatever else you're making there. Make sure it needs a little bit this, a dash of that. And mitzvah, special mitzvah, because you want the food to be as good as possible. So the royal chef's wife asks him again, says, well, what's going to be here? What do you mean you didn't taste the stew? He said, listen, the king told me not to taste the stew. King's the king. How can I go against the king's command? Right? And she says, well, look, I mean, if there's something wrong with the stew, maybe one of the onions was rotten, right? Maybe there was something rotten in it. And it'll be a bad taste to the stew. If something's wrong with the stew, what's going to happen to you. The king's going to be upset. If the king gets upset, that's the end of you. Heads will roll. You don't upset the king. So the royal chef's wife has a very good argument. What's going to be? If you upset the king by giving him something which doesn't taste good, that's going to be the end of you. On the other hand, the king told him not to taste the stew. So the royal chef is sitting there thinking about it in the midst of his dilemma. And so that's just a little bit of a glimpse of what Admiration was facing when he was given the command not to taste from the Eitz Hadas. So most of us don't have that dilemma. We know what's right, we know what's wrong. And we don't need to think too much about what the consequences are if we disobey. But Adam Rishon had very difficult test. His test, Adam Rishon's test, was given to him because of several different reasons. Won't go into those reasons now, but it was a test, and so the cards are really not stacked against us. Now that we have a Torah, it's clear for us, and we know the things that Kadosh Baruch Hu expects from us, and we know that the punishments that are going to be dealt out to a person who disobeys. So it's not so hard to just buckle under and accept the authority of Kadosh Baruch Hu. But Adam Rishon's the Nisayon was a little bit of it different. It was much different than we face. So
we learned from that story that the state of man is to be a sinner. Isn't that the whole point of the
no,
Adam
not at all.
Chava?
Not at all. No, the state of Adam is to know that you're a nivra. That the Torah is teaching us that Adam and Chava, they were created, and since they were created, they have obligations to be to their creator. That's the whole plot. That's the whole plot of Darwin and all those who think that there's no creator and things didn't come about through a special creation of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. They're attempting to circumvent the necessity of our being things which have been created, and that anything that's been created is by necessity having a creator. If you have no creator, you have no responsibilities. If you have no responsibilities, there's no right and wrong. You simply do what you think is logically correct at the time, or what even if it's not logically correct. Simply do what you feel and sense is the proper thing according to your own logic, and maybe even not your own logic, from your own tithe. And people who believe in a creator and they understand that they have obligations to a creator. So that's what the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says. The Gemara Avodah says that a person has a choice between traveling, and in those days the roads were not as we know them today. Roads were deserted, and it was dangerous to travel, and especially to travel, it was dangerous to travel by yourself. So if you had a companion to travel with, you were better off. So the Gemara says if a person has a choice to travel with a pagan or an atheist, he should travel with a pagan instead of the atheist. Because the atheist has no morals, he has no higher authority. So therefore, he's not bound by any higher authority, and he can't really be trusted. However, a pagan, he may believe in his deities, in his false gods, but at least he believes in high authorities than himself, and he's somewhat bound by his beliefs, whereas an atheist is not bound by any beliefs. And that's the advice of the Gemara and Avodah Zarah. So unfortunately, that there are more atheists around than pagans these days. So if you have to travel, it might be better to travel by yourself than travel with an atheist, because you don't know what he's going to do to you. But yeah,
I'm kind of losing the train of thought here, Rabbi.
I'm basically answering your question. Your last question was, do we see that from the story of Adam and Chava that Adam is destined to be a sinner, and that's not true. People are destined to listen to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? That's what Adam and Chava are teaching us. That's what the Torah teaches with Adam and Chava. People are destined to listen to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what they are, not that they're destined to be sinners.
But don't we have a statement that nobody does good and doesn't sin?
Yeah, everyone nobody's perfect in this world. The biggest tzaddik, that his Yetzer Hara gets bigger with him, right? I'm not saying they do things intentionally. I'm not saying they do things rebelliously, but people do. That's why we have tshuva. One of the 10 things that we created before the Bris Olam was tshuva. Kadosh Baruch Hu realized that there are going to be mistakes made. Sometimes there are going to be mistakes made. Sometimes there are going to be rebellions made. Sometimes there'll be negligence made. And in all these things, the Kadosh Baruch Hu understands. He understands his creations better than we understand ourselves.
So my point about the deck being stacked is we're put into the world in a state where we are going to sin. And now we're being told the sins will be punished, and this bad stuff will happen to us. And the bad stuff is not from Hashem, it's from us. But Hashem constructed the situation such that it had to be. There had to be people sinning, and therefore there have to be punishments. Therefore, you have to have calamities in the world, and it is coming from Hashem.
No, it's only the process of if we didn't have the opportunity to have things reflected to us, meaning if everything, the Dor Hamabel, right? One of the causes of the Mabel was that the generation of the Mabel had it too good. They had it was basically perfect weather, absolutely perfect weather, except for 40 days during the year. 40 days during the year would rain. And because they had too much perfect weather, number one, they had too much perfect weather, and they had too much leisure time, right? They had too much leisure time, because when Noah came along, he invented the various different agricultural implements, which were lacking in previous generations. So people had to spend a lot of time working the land and to get their basic necessities, and that kept them busy. And as long as they were busy, they stayed out of trouble. When Noah invented the various different agricultural implements that saved them a lot of time and effort and work. So they had too much extra free time on their hands, and therefore they sinned with the extra time. They didn't know how to use their time productively. That's what Chavos Halavavis, the Sefer Chavos Halavavis, in the Sefer in his parak on B'tochen, explains that there are basically two reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes it that people should have to put forth efforts established for Parnasa, right? And one of the main reasons, of the two reasons, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to test us to see if we're going to be involved with making our Parnasa in legal ways, according to his rules and regulations. Right? And he says there that if a person will do that, right, that's number one. And number two, the second reason is that Hashem wants us to be busy, because if we're not busy, we're going to get into trouble. Just like the Dora Mabel got into trouble because they had too much free time, and that led to all the sins that caused their eventual destruction. Right? So Havas Lavova says there in his Shar B'tochen that if Kadosh Baruch Hu sees that a person's a tzaddik and he is going to pass the test of earning a living without sinning, and he's also going to be in charge and watchful over himself, that if he has free time, he doesn't waste it doing silly and stupid, foolish things. So then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give him his parnasa without any need to put forth great efforts to earn a person's parnasa. People think they have to earn parnasa, they have to earn a living, because if not, they're not going to have any ways and means of supporting himself. That's not true. All the support that a person gets is coming directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one way or the other. But if a person is going to be, if Hashem knows a person is going to be wasting his time, if he has too much free time, then it's not good for him. It's not good for the world. For example, I don't know, did the statistics come in yet about how many people died over New Year's vacation?
I don't know. I should look at that. I guess I didn't look yet.
What were the traffic deaths, and how many criminal offenses were created? How many people died because of criminal assaults during the last 48 hours or something like that?
Okay, well, we can ask and find out, I guess, when it comes in.
I'm sure the statistics have been in. They've already. I don't know if it broke any records this year. We'll find out.
Hope not.
The Gemara says that why is a non-Jew chayiv misa if he keeps Shabbos, and it doesn't have to be Shabbos. Even if he decide to keep Sunday as Shabbos, they decide to keep Thursday as Shabbos, a day of rest. They want to have a day of rest. The goy is chayiv misa, because it's better that Hashem takes him out of the world than he causes trouble with his free time. Yeah. So when they have free time, they get into trouble, and they cause trouble for other people as well. If they were just harming themselves, that would be bad enough. But they're going to cause trouble for other people, and that's much worse, much worse. So that's the principle that Chavos Halevos teaches us, that Kadosh Baruch Hu is willing and ready and able to give us our parnasa if we just prove to him that we are able to spend our time in productive ways, and we don't have to be busy making a living. But if we haven't proved ourselves to Kadosh Baruch Hu that we can use our time productively, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, well, okay, let's just keep them busy. Let them keep them busy at the millstone, and they can't do much trouble at the millstone, and then the world will have peace and quiet. But so what Lou is maybe intimating to is there was a machlokus, Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, that there was a 2.5 year machlokus, Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, whether it was better for a person to be created or not to be created. So Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai argued this point for 2.5 years, and in the end, they decided and they collectively agreed that really, theoretically, it was better that we wouldn't be created to come into this world. But since Kadosh Baruch Hu decided that we are supposed to be created, so what can we do? So the only thing we can do is we should examine our deeds and improve our deeds to the maximum extent. Now, what was the point that they understood? Why was it not beneficial for a person to be brought into this world? Meaning, it was better he remain not created rather than be created, because they made a simple accounting. In the end, they finally, let's make a simple basic accounting that of the 613 mitzvahs, there are 248 positive mitzvahs, and there are the rest of them are the negative commandments, and so there are more negative commandments than positive commandments. So therefore, the odds are that a person's going to trip up and have a deficit of averos rather than a surplus of mitzvahs. So because of that mathematical balance, they decided it's better it's more risky for a person to come into the world than to not coming into the world. But nevertheless, the Kadosh Baruch Hu deemed that we should come into the world. So since the Kadosh Baruch Hu did deem and did create us into this world, we have no choice but to look into our deeds and be careful about what we're doing and improve ourselves, and if necessary, do tshuva. But the deck is not stacked against us. The odds might be a little bit against us in the fact that we have more lavim to be concerned of than positive mitzvahs. But nevertheless, the creation of man is in order to recognize his creator and to follow his commandments. And if that's going to be done, then the world should be perfect, right? The world can remain in a state of perfection if we all recognize our creator and we recognize and abide by his commandments. So that allows perfection to exist in the world. If there's no recognition of a Kadosh Baruch Hu as our creator, and we are not therefore abiding by his commands, so people do things that are wrong, not in keeping with the commands of their creator, and there have to be consequences that people have to realize that one of the reasons why is there we have a tinus today. That's for the beginning of the siege of Yerushalayim, and there is Bnei Ashkenaz have a minhag that after Sukkot and after Pesach we have 3 fasts known as Bahab, 3 separate fasts spanning a week and a half's time. And these fasts, one of the reasons for these fasts is that on Chol HaMoed, that we have extra free time, people have a tendency to get more involved with things that they shouldn't be involved with. And therefore there's a surplus of sin, avera, existing after Pesach and Sukkot. By Shavuos, where there's no Chol HaMoed, so there's no need for Bahab, the fasting and the tshuva. But since Pesach and Sukkot have Chol HaMoed, where there's a lot of extra time to get into trouble, so people tend to get into trouble when they have extra free time, then we can make a Kol V'chomer. Right? If a Jew who's going to have extra free time, and we're talking about extra free time being like Chol HaMoed, he's going to get himself into trouble, and even Kol V'chomer, even more so, the non-Jews will get themselves into trouble if they have extra free time. And the Bahab is a way of counteracting that. So because we want to do tshuva before things come to a head, and because if things come to a head, then it's going to be something which is undesirable. We don't want to have things come to a head. We want to do tshuva before the Peronius come to the world. But you should know that their Peronius will and can come into the world based on our behavior.
Mm.
Okay. Let's continue on. We're in paragraph number 6, right?
Right,
Okay.
Mida, right near the end of the
Right. Meter.
fourth line. Mida keneged Mida,
Right.
bimat hashkafa, hashkafa.
Well, you'll see all these things occur meter connected meter with a little bit of ma'at hashkafa, with a little bit of insight and foresight and explanation of these things. You can see that these things are in fact coming meter connected meter. Here's an example. Here's an example.
Ki hine ba'avon eder hama'asarot ba hara'av. Mida keneged Mida.
That if you take a look with the sin of the lack of giving the maestros, famine comes to the world. That's mida keneged mida.
Oh, so if you don't give maestros,
Right. So people are not going to give meiser. Maybe some people yes, some people not. So that'll become mida keneged mida. We'll see how he explains that.
oh yeah, that's interesting because that's a come to everyone then. Okay, ki keshekatzatam ma'asirin v'katzatan einan ma'asirin ba ra'av shel b'tzurat.
Right. That you have some of them are maisrim, kutsasam ain't maisrim. Some people, in a case where some people are maisrim and some people are not maisrim, so then ba rav oros, right? That then the type of famine comes, a special type of famine comes to the world. You know, it's a lack of rain, and a lack of rain, as he's going to explain, lack of rain is not uniform to everybody, meaning there's some people that'll get rain and they'll have food therefore, and then there are some people that won't have rain and they won't have the food, right? So that's mida keneged mida.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, good. Sheino Ra'av Kolel Licholam. Okay, so it doesn't come to everybody. Okay, Kamo She Havera Lo Haita Kolelet. The Alkane Mikzatam Re'evim Umikzatam Seveim. That's what you just said. Okay. So,
Right.
some will suffer from it and some will not be satiated.
Right.
Okay.
So therefore, it's all mida keneged mida, not unilateral. It's selective. Okay. Let's see. Shall we start? Maybe we'll hold off and start at 7. But that's the general point. The general point is all these things. The Mishnah is coming to reveal to us this is all mida keneged mida, meaning Kadosh Baruch Hu deals with his world, right? Mida keneged mida, in a measured distribution of reward and punishment. Some rewards are given in this world, some rewards are given in the next world, and also punishments. Some punishments are given in this world, and some punishments are given in the next world. And it's really to our benefit that if we get punished in this world, we shouldn't want to get punished, but the punishments that Kadosh Baruch Hu does give a person or a people or the world in general in this world are really to our ultimate benefit. Number one, first of all, by really realizing things are not 100%, we should hopefully come to the conclusion that if things are not 100%, it must be because, and we have to come to that conclusion, that things are not 100% in the world is because we are personally not 100%. We're not 100% either personally or collectively, right? Neither the individual Jew, the individual Jewish people, and the humanity as a whole, where if we're not behaving properly, So then there has to be some reaction to alarm ourselves to improve, awaken ourselves to improve. And if everything would continue on fine and dandy, then at least two things would occur. First of all, there would be no punishments for things that are going wrong in this world, and everything would be left to be punished in the next world, which is much worse. It's much worse to have punishments in the next world than having punishments in this world. And although, secondly, if everyone continued on hunky-dory without any difficulties, in spite of the fact that people are not obeying Kadosh Baruch Hu, then people would get the idea that what they're doing is really right. They're really, look, everything seems to be fine. I'm doing, guys robbing banks, he's killing, robbing, and stealing, and he's just doing fine. He's not even, he's not even having difficulty with his, with his kids. The kids are even growing up nice and happy, and they don't even bother him. So he thinks everything's fine. He knows he's doing a lot of things wrong, and nothing's going bad in his life. So that seems to be a green light for him to continue, right? When things start going wrong, it should be like at least a yellow light, if not a red light, that a person should realize he should stop, should change his ways. So therefore, beneficial that the Kadosh Baruch Hu treats us mida keneged mida. Okay, very good. Let's take a break here. And Mitzvah Shem, I may have to restart the meeting with another computer. So if you lose track, you have to re-sign in. Don't be alarmed. Roy, you should have a good afternoon.
We will.
Hope to see you tomorrow.
Bye.